In boating, it really doesn't take much. Just a few simple things go wrong, and the next thing you know, things can spiral out of control pretty quickly, just like some of the incidents we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the Gulf of Oman, where just a little over a week ago, the U.S. Navy released this aerial surveillance footage showing this vessel sailing in the Gulf. But this isn't your traditional footage. This vessel was actually under surveillance for expected narcotics smuggling. And actually during the filming of this video, the Navy's on their way to board this vessel, but things are a little off. Here we can see crew members in the bow of this boat who appear to be pouring a liquid of some sort into the cargo hold of the vessel. Apparently, one of the sailors on board this vessel came up with the idea to go ahead and try and sink the ship before the Navy arrives to avoid them being caught with the narcotics that are in the hull of this boat. So the sailors take to pouring gasoline into the cargo hold of the vessel, and then they proceed to set this vessel on fire. As mentioned earlier, patrol craft USS Sirocco was already en route, but by the time they arrived, this vessel was fully engulfed in flames. The crew of the Sirocco did wind up rescuing 5 Iranians who were on board this vessel, who are currently being held for charges of suspected drug smuggling. Even though this vessel was mostly in flames, when the US Navy arrived, the crew from the Sirocco was still able to pull out 1,700 kilograms of narcotics. The Navy estimates the value of the drugs recovered from this to be almost $15 million. A U.S. Navy spokesman did come out after the incident and claimed they believed that only represented approximately half the drugs to be on board this vessel, with the other half being expected to have been burnt in the blaze or went down with the ship. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the coast of England, where just a few weeks back on Christmas Eve, the RNLI received an emergency response call that 2 paragliders had fallen into the sea. The New Haven RNLI set out to go try and pull off a Christmas miracle.
Alongside. Got hold of you, mate, don't worry, we're just trying to get us out of this surf.
Here the RNLI crew can be seen battling rough conditions in a rescue vessel as they try and pluck the pair of paragliders from the sea and get them back to the safety of the rescue boat. Despite the challenging conditions, the pair were safely brought back to shore.
How you feeling? You alright? Can you talk to us?
As many of you already know, the RNLI is a completely volunteer organization. And the lifeboat volunteers seen in this video were later praised for postponing their Christmas celebrations to rush out and help these people.
That's it. Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3.
Now, this wasn't the only rescue during the holiday week in England. In fact, our next story for the boating news is going to keep us there, as this was the scene during Christmas week when the crew of the Venus Clipper on the Thames River spotted a man drifting down the river. The crew quickly pulled out a boat hook and attempted to bring the man on board, but unfortunately, due to his weak condition from the cold waters of the river, he was unable to hang on to the boat hook, and unfortunately the crew was unable to get him on board. But fortunately, due to the quick thinking and quick work from the crew of the Venus Clipper, they were able to keep him close enough to the vessel while local police authorities were able to launch one of their rescue boats. And just when you think all is lost, that rescue boat shows up just in the nick of time to be able to pull the victim from the water. This worked out to be a very fortunate situation that the good eye of the Venus Clipper crew was able to spot this man so quickly. The currents were moving extremely fast this day, and things could have gotten out of hand very quickly. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us towards some warmer waters, where in this past week, the box ship Mathone rescued 19 Cuban migrants approximately 30 miles from Alligator Reef Lighthouse near Islamorada, Florida. The Mathone was en route from Miami to Veracruz when it came across a group of people whose raft had flipped over, throwing all 19 occupants into the water. One of the people pulled from the water did need medical attention and was airlifted from the vessel, as can be seen in these images here. The Coast Guard cutter Charles Sexton met with the Mathone and took aboard the remaining 18 survivors for processing and repatriation. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your stories over here. And if you haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.